why you would use a while loop versus a for loop, because there might be a little bit of a distinction here. So there are a couple different scenarios. So imagine this one here. So in this program, we would say ask the user for five, I guess we'll do money values, and display their total. Okay, so we're going to do this now. In this version, we know how many times the loop is going to run before the loop starts. We know that this is going to run 5 times. There's a process we're doing 5 times. So this one will have 5 iterations. So when we know ahead of time how many times the loop runs, this is usually a scenario for a for loop. So this is how this would work. So for int I equals 1, while I is less than or equal to 5, I plus plus. And then we'll need a couple values here, of course. So we'll need a double for the total. We'll start this off at 0. We're going to have a double. Our individual values are going to be called money. So what we'll do is we'll see out and enter value, and then we'll put a $sign here. We'll do that in just a second. So enter value I. We'll put a space and then a $sign. There we go. That'll work. And we'll see in the money value. And then we will make the total grow by whatever they gave us as the money value. So total equals total plus money. There we go. So we know how many times this is going to run. We're going to see out at the end the total with a dollar sign and total, and we'll put an end L here. Okay, great. So we'll run the program. So this one, again, the key element here is we know how many times the loop is going to run at the beginning. So we've got 355. I'm going to put 222. 1470, $100, $200, and then we get the total displayed at the end. So you could use a while loop for this as well with a counter variable in it that runs 5 times. But why would we use a for loop if a for loop is why is it preferable to use a for loop, I should say, rather than use a while loop? So a for loop has an advantage over a while loop of advantage readability. So when we look at a for loop, all information is at the top. So we don't have to look through for a particular line of the loop to see, okay, well, how much is the counter growing? We don't, if it's a do while loop, we don't have to scroll to the bottom to find out how many times we're running. This line here tells us absolutely everything that we need to know about how the loop is going to be running. So when we have a scenario where we know ahead of time how many times the loop is going to run, it is preferable to use a for loop because it has an advantage of readability over a while loop because all the information is at the top. Now, by contrast, we're going to take a look at doing a while loop that has a similar style, but I'm just going to try and show you the difference between them. So let's reset our total to 0. So our total here is going to be 0. And then what we're going to do is we're going to set the scenario instead where ask for money values until the total is $100 or more. So if I gave you this as the example and then I asked you, how many times is the loop going to run? You couldn't tell me. If we get $5 increments, it's going to run 20 times. If we get $50 values, it's only going to run 2 times. So in this situation, we don't know how many iterations the loop is going to have. So this is almost always an example of where you would use a for loop. Now, a while loop. So in addition, we get the scenario of would we want to use a while loop or a do while loop? So in this situation, you have to guaranteed have the loop run 1 time because our total is 0. And we want to at least ask them for 1 money value. There's no way to get 100 in this scenario without asking them. So this is a do while loop because you would guaranteed run it 1 time. I mean, you could write it as a while loop, but this is we'll just do a do while loop because this is a perfect example of where you would use it. So what we want to do is we want to do this while the total. Now, again, take a look at the condition here. We want to ask for money until the total is 100 or more. So usually when you see this word until, the while loop kind of has the opposite. So until is when you want to stop the loop. Our while condition is while you want to keep looping. So if we're turning this into an if statement, it would be if total is greater than or equal to 100. So our while loop is the opposite of that. So while the total is less than 100, we want to keep running the loop. So I'm going to just copy and paste this from up here into the do while loop. If we want to maintain this I value for the enter value, this is where we would probably have I declared beforehand. We know that its starting value is going to be 1, and then every time we run through the loop, we're going to increment I by 1. So now in this one, we are going to have enter value whatever, and it's just going to keep going until we finally get our value of 100. And then just for this scenario, we'll also put the total because, again, you're not going to end up exactly at 100. The last value entered could be, 10,000, and then you're going to have a number that is significantly over 100. So let's run this just to show a distinction between these 2 types. So let's run this. So we've got the first one here. Again, I'm just going to go 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, which will give us a 20. Now for the second one, I want to keep going until I get a value of 100. So I'm going to do $11, $22, $33, $44, and then we finally end up with our total of 110. So again, you want to pick situations where you know how many times you're going to run the loop. Typically use a for loop for that, and other situations where you don't know and you kind of have to wait for something to happen, either a particular accumulator result or the user entering 0 to end the loop. That's also a common one. You usually do those with a while or a do while loop.